No.
And then Aunt Bess
Bess
had Ben and Wilson and Bessie Lee and Jenny Mae, huh?
2 boys, 2 girls.
And of course you had 3. And Joe first?
Joe first, and then I lost the little baby between Joe and you.
Yeah. But y'all came, that was, you were born in 1899. But you came, when did y'all come back to Texas, came to Texas in 1901 or 1902?
Oh, well, I must have been 19, well, I don't know, because I was 2 years, I wasn't 3 years old. I was past 2 years, I believe they said. And I don't remember the trip back.
You don't remember any of the trip at all coming back?
No. I've heard them tell it so much, I feel like I know it, but I remember some of it. But then, we came back to Texas, and then...
Did you come back you came back by wagon? But what was it? Well, of course you don't remember whether it was a trail or a road or what, but it was a covered wagon.
Oh, it was
or you
a
had
road.
2 covered wagons.
It was a road. They had the roads, but how good they were, I don't know.
Yeah. The book said y'all had 2 covered wagons, and when you got to the Red River, you had to take the ferry to get across the river.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Said y'all had horses and cows and dogs and family and wagons and everything. It cost $4 for all of you to get across on that ferry boat.
Well, I don't remember that part. I was too young.
Yeah.
But little Greg thought that I walked halfway from Arkansas to Texas.
Was it mules or oxen?
Oh, it was mules. Dad didn't have it.
Never did have oxen.
No. Mules.
And of course, after you got down here to Texas, well, Uncle Frank was the last one then to be born, huh?
Yeah, Frank, he was a baby.
Because he was born in 1902.
Who? Frank was, yes.
Yeah. Of course, I guess y'all stayed there between Troy and Eddie until 1912.
Well, yeah, I know we lived in 2 different houses, and finally we bought this last place we had. Nice home, and I don't know how many acres of land they had.
Well, didn't Uncle Lewis stay there at one of the houses then when he?
Oh, he lived at home until he got married. He was getting up in age when he married. I mean, I guess he was older than that.
But I thought that RV and Wayne and JD and all them were born up there near Troy and Eddie.
They were born up that way, but I don't remember.
I remember.
They moved some.
I remember visiting them. Well, I guess I must have been 6 or 8 or so years old, and JD and I went down on the river and dug fool's gold down there on the river, someplace between Troy and Eddie. Fool's gold. We used to think that, boy, that was like we were rich when we dug out all those gold nuggets out of the riverbed down there, and it was what they call fool's gold.
Oh.
It shines like gold.
Well, yes, that's the pretty stones then.
Yeah. But when y'all moved to Carpus, then, well, I guess Uncle Lee and Uncle Lewis didn't move with you because they were already married.
Oh, they were married, yeah.
Yeah. And Uncle Luther had already died then, huh?
Yeah. Well, they came, Lee came down there. I don't know how he came to Corpus, but he came up to our house. He was walking, and he tried to fool us. He thought maybe we wouldn't know who he was.
No.
And he tried to tell us.
He was a cut-up anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a cut-up, and he was pretending he was begging.
Yeah.
You know. And,
he pretended he was who?
Begging?
Begging?
He pretended that he was begging for something to eat or something. He said he had got worn out from walking, and I don't know how he came into Corpus, but he walked up to the house.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll always remember him as a family clown because he was always trying to pull something on somebody.
He's
like our RV too. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Or used to be, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Well, did Uncle Clarence, was Uncle Clarence down there with y'all then?
Oh yes, he was younger than I was, you know, and he was the baby.
No, Uncle Clarence.
Oh yes, he lived with
And
his
Carver?
mother. He lived with Mother and Dad a long time because after Dad was injured in this accident, and he felt like that he should stay around and help take care of him, because someone had to kind of, what, you know, some man or somebody that could handle him and turn him over, and he had to be turned in bed, and so Clarence was mighty good to help take care of Dad.
Yeah.
For years.
Stayed around a long time. Well then, Uncle Luther, after his first wife died, he married Aunt Lida.
Yeah.
And then of course, then after Uncle Luther died, well, Uncle Clarence married Aunt Lida.
That's right.
So it
That's
was
right.
was a kind of a little bit confusing in there to anybody that was outsiders, because
Yeah,
there's
because
kind
I
of
couldn't
three
understand
families.
why Fannie and Carrie were cousins to
So they were cousins at the same.
to Luther's first children.
Yeah, they were cousins and step sisters and brothers.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course,
Kind of hard to figure it all out.
yeah. And of course, Uncle Frank had a bunch of kids. He had Bill
Frank
Wayne.
had five. Frank had 5 boys, and then Mary, the girl, was
Yeah.
the last.
Billy Wayne
Billy Wayne and Dick
and Dick, you know,
and Jack
Jackie and
Bobby.
Bobby. Yeah, that's right. I get away from them for a while, and I forget. Of course,
Well,
I've
there's
been
so
taking.
many of them to remember, so
Yeah.
many relatives.
I don't guess I ever did sit down and count up all my actual cousins, but I guess there must have been 20.
Well, Frank had 6. You know, 5 boys, and then Mary was.
Okay, that's 6, and then
Bess had 4.
that's 10, and Aunt Nell didn't have any, and Imo had 4.
4. And I had 3.
That's 14, yeah, and Uncle Lee had 2, that's 16. Uncle Clarence had 2, that's 18, and Uncle Lewis had 4, that's 22, and Uncle Luther, by his first wife, had 5, 22. Well, we had 27 cousins.
Nell didn't have any.
Yeah, and Aunt Nell didn't have any. But there's been a lot of things come to pass since you were born. I guess there's been more inventions and things like you know, I guess the telephone came in about the same time you were born, didn't it? Was it a
Well,
new
I
invention?
don't know. I can remember telephone as long as you know, far back as I can remember. We had 2 telephones when we lived in this last home we bought in Bell County. We had 2 telephones, one from Troy and one from Eddie.
Oh, be darned. Well, there weren't many numbers in the weren't many digits in the numbers back then, were they?
No.
Would you have 3 digits or 2 digits or?
No, you just call operator, call
Oh,
central, they called
yeah.
it, and tell her you want,
Hey Central, give me number 9, huh?
so-and-so number, and then 2 longs and 2 shorts, or you know, 2 long rings and 2 shorts, or.
Oh, they were all party lines.
Party lines.
How many were on party? Do you have any idea?
Oh, no, I don't have any idea.
But back then, there used to be a bunch on a party. I think there were as many as 16 on a party line.
I don't remember that, but how many, but.
Yeah, but there were more than 2 or 3 or 4, you know.
Yeah. You could try to call one number and somebody would hear that number. They say, oh, I believe I'll take down the receiver and see who's talking, and sometimes you can get your number and sometimes.
Yeah, I bet you little Carrie did that once in a while too, didn't she?
I would be surprised.
Yeah.
I bet she did.
Well, how much did y'all lose when you were wiped out in Carpus, Mom?
How much what?
How much did you lose? You said you had a brand new bedroom suit when you.
Oh, well, we didn't have too much because right after we married, you know, your daddy went overseas. And then while he was gone overseas, I worked, and I tried to pay out some furniture, so much a month on furniture, bedroom suit, and then dining room suit, and then stove, and just what I could make out with until he got back. And I just had that just about paid out, you know, when he came back. We had rented a house, as I say, 2 blocks from the bay. It was sea level right there. And we lost it all.
How much was the rent in those days? You have any idea?
Oh, I don't know, but it was very reasonable. I mean, that wasn't very high. And he started working for the, what do you call it? The bus company, you know, what do you call that? The bus and streetcars and all that.
Streetcar thing? Yeah, trolley car company?
Yeah, well, I don't know what that's called.
Well, did they have streetcars in Carpus?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember they had streetcars.
Your dad was a motorman. And he went out that morning, and but it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I worried. And your granddad Fuller was staying with us at that time, and he smoked a pipe, and he just sat there and puffed on that pipe, and that worried me because I told him, I said, Dad, we better be getting out of here because I think everybody else has left home. He said, well, where did they go? I said, I don't know, but we could go to higher ground. We're right here, sea level. So when we did decide to go, there was a big 2-story house on the corner next door to us. He said, well, we'll just go over there and just go upstairs. The water won't get up that high. The water had already gotten up, and so we couldn't get up. We couldn't. Well, the people were not at home. They'd already left home. We couldn't even get in that house. So then we started out to go to the courthouse, and I had on some high heel pumps. And there was a lady came behind us. She's an elderly lady, and she didn't have any help to try to get along. She was trying to make it in the water, you know, walking, trying to get to the courthouse. And so I got her on one side of me and my father-in-law on the other. And I was trying to hold on to them, and one of my shoes, my pumps, dropped off in the water. And I felt around with my foot, tried to find it, and I couldn't find it, so I just kicked the other one off. And I went in my stocking feet on down to the courthouse and just left the shoes. Well, then the next morning, we went out to my mother's home. Well, naturally, I went barefooted. Everybody else was running around barefooted. No, you know.
Nobody had any shoes.
No one else was thinking about how they looked around. There was no buses running. There was nothing. No telephone service. We couldn't call out to see if my mother and dad were all right. And at that time, my father was an invalid. And I asked the men in the courthouse if they wouldn't help us to send someone out to check on my mother and father because they were alone, I thought. And they said, oh, don't worry, we'll send somebody out. Well, they didn't. They may have tried, but no one ever got out.
Nobody ever got out there.
But it happened, luck would have it, Uncle Lewis's family went over and stayed with them. So they were not too worried because they didn't have any idea that the water had gotten up on North Beach and everything washed away up there, you know.
Well, as it turned out, well, you were more in jeopardy than any of the rest of them then.
Yes, yeah.
Did y'all couldn't salvage anything out of the house? So I guess after the water got.
Oh no, everything was ruined. Black oil. You see, there was a big ship with black oil, with this oil, and it. I don't know what happened to it, but there was black oil all over the water, all over that bay. And wherever that water was, that black oil was all over. And all over that white furniture of mine, that bedroom suit, was covered in black oil. And up over the doors, up over the doors, the water got up. And our front, on the front of our house, was kind of high. It had a lot of steps, you know. But the water got up, you know, pushed that way up.
What did you do? Just walk away from it all, huh?
Well, we had to get out. We got out there before the water got up.
I know, but when you went back, did you try to salvage anything?
Oh, no.
You just walked away from it?
We just walked away from it, pissed it out. No good. You couldn't get it. It was broken up. My dining table had, but dining table floated because it was wood, you know, all wood. And there was Dad Fuller's bowl of post toasters he had poured out for him. he was gonna eat him a bowl of post toast, he called it,
Mhm.
before he left there.
Yeah.
He poured it out, and when I showed him, told him to come look at the front of the house with the boats and things coming from the bay down in front of the house.
Yeah.
He said, we better get out of here.
Yeah.
And so we left. And there his bowls up the table floated, just
Mhm.
where they could float up, you know. And actually that bowl of cereal,
It's still up.
post toast, it was
Still-
still there.
Still there, I'll be darned.
But, we might have gotten something out. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't much.
How much did Dad make as a motorman back then?
I just don't remember. I don't remember. In fact, he hadn't been back a month. I bet not over a month when the storm came.
Yeah.
And he hadn't had a chance to work much.
Yeah. Of course, nobody made much back
No.
then. Even when I was a kid, you know, a buck or two a day was pretty good wages.
Oh, yeah. I just don't know how much he made, but not much.
Of course, you could buy a hamburger for 29 cents a pound then, I guess, or maybe even cheaper than that, I don't know. Do you remember anything about going to school
Or in Corpus?
when you were
Oh,
a kid? Hmm?
Oh, yes. I went to Edward Furman School.
What school?
Edward Furman, it
Oh.
was a great school, you know, I just call it junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, from there I went to Corpus Christi High.
Mm. What kind of, yeah, did y'all have, you have notebooks and, you had real fountain pens back then, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
And I guess, and real pencils to write with.
Oh, yeah.
And you
That's
had,
modern.
yeah, well, that was a modern time, yeah.
Yeah.
But you used to have, I guess, 2 or 3 extra pencils, didn't you?
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
we could have as many pencils as we
Bunches
wanted.
of-
We had, yeah, we had plenty of pencils.
Did you, did they issue books to you back then like they did when I was going to school? Did you bring your own books home?
Well, we brought them home to study when we felt like we wanted to study.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether they had to pay any on those books or not. I can't remember if, I think they might have furnished books. I wouldn't say, for sure, I don't know, I don't remember.
Yeah. And when did you and Dad move to San Antonio then?
Oh, we moved to San Antonio so many times, I don't know.
Oh, well, 'cause
We
Joe-
moved to
Joe-
Corpus and we moved back to San Antonio, and then we'd go get
Mhm.
homesick and go back to Corpus. And,
Oh, because Joe was born in Carpus and
yeah,
and
and 6 years later you were born in
I
San
was
Antonio.
born here.
Yeah, we were living in Corpus when Joe was born.
Yeah. And I used to know my brother's name that died in between Mom, and I can't remember.
The little baby,
The-
Dorian.
Dorian. Well, he was born in San Antonio too.
No, he was born in Houston.
In Houston. Okay.
Oh yeah, your dad was, he believed in moving. he liked to go.
Well, a lot of people moved back then. I
know.
remember some of the other family. I remember Uncle Clarence and Aunt Lottie used to move quite a
Oh
bit too.
yeah,
and-
that's the reason people didn't have anything those days. They spent it all for moving.
Yeah, well, everybody was looking for a job.
Yeah,
They would
for a
move
better
from
job.
town to town looking for jobs, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there were quite a few of the others in the family too that moved on.
Oh yes.
But things started getting pretty tough back in right after I was born, didn't they?
Is what?
I say things started getting pretty tough right after I was born.
Yeah. Wasn't any bed of roses.
Yeah, that was in '26, so I think the Depression must have I don't know when it really started getting bad, but I guess 28 or so, and I guess was 30 when the stock market dropped out, or do you remember when?
I don't remember.
But there was
I know your dad
and the
didn't.
banks all failed and everything.
Huh?
the banks all failed and the
Yeah.
stock market dropped out.
Poor Jack Lambert lost, I don't know how many $1,000 during that time too. He had put away.
Well, there were a lot of people who committed suicide back in those days because they lost everything. You know, they lost all the money they had in the bank, and they were getting in line to jump off the top of the buildings. But y'all survived some way or another.
Yeah.
Just barely.
Yeah.
And I remember you having to work 2 jobs and try to take care of us.
Take care of your granddad.
Take care of your granddad too, you know.
I took care of the blind man for 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
That neighbor in the home.
Well, of course you.
And I
that was a big help to us because he paid you some though.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's right.
I mean, now it was a lot of work for you, but I meant that he did.
Oh yes, it was a help.
It put a few beans on the table.
Well, he was such a nice fellow, and he
Yeah.
wasn't any extra trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember him. He was nice to us. And I guess maybe he got money from the state for being blind, didn't he? Or how did? Of course, he worked too.
Oh, he worked at the lighthouse for the blind because I took him to work in the mornings before I'd go on duty. A lot of times, and
yeah, they used to make brooms and mops and things like that over there. I don't know what all he did.
I think all of his brothers have passed away since he did. I don't think any of them are living now.
Yeah. I remember one of them used to live right behind us when we were on Essex Street. We lived on Essex.
Oh, you thinking about not his brother? You're thinking about Ernest Applewhite, aren't you?
No, Ernest Applewhite just lived 2 doors down
Down
from
the
us
street.
on Essex.
But you mean one of his brothers lived on?
I thought one of his brothers lived on Denver, right in back of us. Wasn't that Jack Lambert's brother, or was that somebody else's brother?
No, I don't think it was Jack's brother. I don't think they lived that close to us because they lived in San Antonio, right?
Yeah, but not that close. Huh? I was sitting here the other day trying to remember the nice people that lived next door to us on Essex. The
Miss
young
Fleming?
couple. Huh?
Miss Fleming?
No, that was the older couple that lived next door to us on the left, or on the right, looking at the house, but on the left, Clay Melvin.
Oh yes.
Remember them?
He passed away too.
Yeah, I read that in the paper. He used to work for the Light, and they were real nice people. Of course, I can't. There was somebody between them and the Applewhites, though, too, weren't they?
Oh. Let me see. I don't. Yes, I do.
There was a house set way back there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Of course, the Woodwards lived across the street from
Yes,
us. And
Mr. Woodward passed away. And,
the Schaefers, I'm sure, are dead by now.
well, anyway, I think they moved from that neighborhood. I don't hear of them anymore.
And what was Chicky and let's see, Hortense, and what was their last name?
Oh,
You remember?
the Spanish people. Carousel.
Carousel, yeah.
I haven't seen Mrs. Carousel in a long time. I guess all of those children are married and gone.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I run into G.T. Cleveland every once in a while. He used to live around the corner from us there. I don't know whether you remember him or not.
Who?
G.T. Cleveland. You know, he used to.
Oh yes, the Clevelands. I didn't know them very well, but I knew of them.
You know, he and the Woodward boy, Odell, and Skeeter Staff and I used to run around together all the time, but we ran into them at over here at this Handy Andy store. They live over here in the Hollywood Park.
Oh, they do?
And they've invited us over, but we never have gone over there. But there's been a lot of changes in the world since you were born, haven't they?
Yes, sure, a lot of changes. A lot of changes in that neighborhood too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an old neighborhood now.
Yeah, but no, what I was thinking about though was the car was invented about the time you were born. And
What was invented?
the car, automobile.
Mm-hmm.
There were, I guess, more wagons when you were a little girl than there were,
Oh, yeah.
cars.
Oh, yeah.
And someplace along in there, the radio was invented. I think about 1920, or was it before that?
Well, I don't
You
know,
remember?
but
You remember where they had radios during the First World War?
I know. I know that Dad had a radio all the time in his room after he was hurt.
Yeah, but I think it was someplace around the 20s that the radio was invented. And of course, the airplane and the phonograph.
Mm-hmm.
The refrigerator. I remember having the old icebox
Oh, yeah.
when we lived on Essex.
Yeah, we kept one big old ice box on the back porch all the time, and it's full of fish and shrimp.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, every time we had our other refrigerator for our food and everything, but Mother kept one out there on the back porch, and where every time we'd come in from fishing and dress our fish, we'd put them in that box, and we had kept that box full of shrimp and fish all the time. Anybody want to mess with fish, they knew where they could get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you remember how you used to order the ice?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, put a sign or put a notice up in the window, something, tell them how much they wanted that day. They bring it, they deliver it, you know, to the...
Yeah, but didn't they used to furnish you with a square card, and it had different denominations in each corner?
Oh, yes, uh-huh.
What was it, 12 and a half and 25
Yeah,
and 50 and I guess 100 pounds.
I think so.
So whenever they drove the truck up front, well, they wouldn't have to come in and ask how much you wanted.
Yeah, they could see, tell from when they first drive up how much ice we wanted.
Mm-hmm. What did Granddad do before he got hurt?
He was a farmer.
Just a farmer?
He was a farmer. When we moved to Corpus, he sold the farm and moved to Corpus, and then he bought a farm. I don't think maybe it's 300 acres or something at Robstown.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought up one of those big tractors, and Clarence went out there and used that tractor and tied up that new ground, you know. And I remember Imo and Ed, her husband, took me one time. We went out there to see him at Robstown, and that's where Dad had gone after the hay to take home to, you know, when he was hurt that day. They'd been out there to pick up some hay to bring back to town.
Yeah. With all the modern stuff, you wonder how you ever kept warm or kept comfortable or cool or anything back in those days.
Well, with this last home we had in Bell County, we had two fireplaces. We had two big living rooms, two big, the front rooms in front, you know, and there was a hall between, and then the stairway went up. And we had a fireplace in each one of those rooms, and one was Mother's and Dad's bedroom, the other was the living room. And the other bedrooms were upstairs, the girls and boys. And we kept it warm. I don't know where they got the wood, to put in the fireplaces, or where they burned. Yes, they burned chunks of wood because...
Guess they had to chop it with axes then. Had to chop it with axes, but...
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I don't know where they bought it, whether we had a branch or creek like through our pasture, and they may have gotten a lot of that wood down there.
Yeah, because I remember there used to be a bunch of trees down in it, down in one of those valleys where Uncle Lewis and them used to live.
Yeah.
But when y'all first came to Texas, were there? I guess, of course, the Indians were all over with, but there were still some renegade tribes around. I think even up to about 1900, and of course they were still slaves back in those days.
Oh well, there were slaves when they were in Arkansas. No, I still have that letter. You know, my dad Dad had it in his little trunk, and he gave it to Joe.
Yeah, that where one of they bought a slave back then, didn't they?
They what?
Didn't he buy a slave back
Oh,
then?
he didn't. So one of his cousins.
Oh.
One of them sold another one, a slave girl,
Mhm.
another girl slave, for $25, and said she